Hello and welcome back. Now that you know what the primary keys are, let's talk about foreign keys and see how we can create foreign keys and relate it to a different table from one table to a different table using PostgreSQL pgadmin 4. So let's get to it. So foreign keys simply is a field or multiple fields in a table that has relationship or calls a primary key in a different table. So to put it conceptually, when you're looking at two tables where one table has a primary key and the other table has foreign key, the table with the primary key is called the parent table, and the table with the foreign keys or foreign key is called child table. So what's going to end up happening is the foreign keys from the child table refers to the primary keys in the parent table, just like we saw in the case of joining or combining table based off of primary keys and foreign keys. While for the primary keys, while we can only have one field in a table that's primary key, for the foreign keys, we can have multiple foreign keys in a table that can refer to primary keys in multiple other tables, if it makes sense. Let me visualize this through this example. I'm going to go ahead and create a table called test table 1. In this table, I'm going to have column ID, country. Column ID is an integer, country character, region character, and primary key. I'm going to assign the ID as a primary key for this table. I'm going to go run it, and there you go, successful. And then I'm going to put inside this table these values. So the values for these three columns are going to be these values. I'm going to insert these values in it. Those values inserted. Now let's go ahead and query the table to look at it. There you go. So we have uh, 5 records, country names, and the region that they belong to, going from 1001, the ID, all the way to 005. And these are the country and their associated region. So this is going to be, as I said at the beginning of the video, going to be the parent table, right? And the parent table holds the primary key. As you can see, I assigned a primary key for this table being the parent table. Now I'm going to create another table which is going to be the child table. So the child table, and it's going to have foreign key. So it's going to have year as an integer, GPA, the balance of trade, the CPI, uh, and the ID for the country, and then we assign that ID as a foreign key. And then what we do is, remember, this is a very important statement here. We say assign ID as a foreign key, but then reference it to the test table, meaning to the parent table, to this ID, to ID. So pretty much we're saying this ID is going to be a child a foreign key, right? Or a foreign key in a child table. Therefore, this child needs to be referenced to its father, to its parent ID, which is in table 1 in the main table. So that's pretty much the logic behind a parent table and a child table, and where in the parent table we have the primary key and the child table we have the foreign key. So what I did was I created a table. I'm going to go ahead and create it, and I'm going to insert these values into that table that has I'm going to create a table to show you what the values are here. We have the year and then we have for each of the countries. Remember, as I said at the beginning, while in a primary in a parent table with a primary key, we can only have one primary key associated with each record. But for the foreign for the child table with the foreign keys, you can have multiple foreign keys. So you can have duplicate foreign keys. In this case, since we are capturing econometric data for multiple years, 2022, 2023, for each of the countries, then we have 2 records for each country, and we listed the country ID here. 1001 is the country ID for Afghanistan. 1002 is the country ID for UAE. 1003 is the country ID for France. Uh, so we have four, and then how many countries I have it for? Yeah, and then 1004, which is a little bit below, is 1003, and then 1004. I don't know how to bring uh, it's a little bit up. Yep. Then 1004 is a country ID uh, for Albania. So I have all these countries here, but remember, I have their their foreign key or foreign ID or foreign yeah, key identifier uh, mentioned, listed here multiple times. So what is the idea here? The idea here is that we are going to reference, right, when we do a join, we're going to combine, let's say, these two table, this table, and let's say for each country we're going to have multiple lines, right? Because what's going to happen is these foreign keys are going to talk to the I to the primary key here. So the foreign key 1001 talks to the primary key 1001, the main table and the parent table, and then they populate multiple records for each of the ID. So for Afghanistan, we're going to have two records, and then same thing with UAE, we're going to have two records. So these records are going to list under each country. So sometimes we have more than two. Sometimes we have, let's say, for example, if you're working in a bank let's say a bank context, right? And you're looking at a customer's transaction based on the customer's account number. So you can have transaction, all of them listed under that account number. And when you run an analysis or query on that specific account number from the parent table, then you're going, and if you do a join table, and if you query all of the related or referenced child tables, then you're going to see everything that from the child IDs related to the parent ID populate under your query. So that's what the idea is. And just for the sake of this practice, the year, each for each country, this is just dummy data. I've collected the year, the data collected across 2 years, 2022, 2023, and then these numbers are just fake numbers plugged in here for this practice. GPA, GPA is an economic indicator, balance of trade, CPI, balance of trade is, the balance of trade between two countries, and then CPI is the consumer price index for the inflation. So these are just, again, just example sample dummy data I plugged in here. But I just want to make sure I mention them so I don't confuse you. So what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and we went ahead and created a foreign key, right, table, and then we inserted them here, and then we queried the table. So what is the significance here? How is this? You probably ask, how is this different from creating, right, a sample? I think, let me just move this up here. Yep, like that, and this should, there you go. This should solve the problem. I think I messed up the format. Oops. Uh, uh, Need to bring this down. You can customize these windows as you please. There you go. All right, so what's the significance here? The significance is that when you run a foreign key operator, right? And if you have, let's say if I delete all of these tables, right? And if I plug in a foreign key that does not exist in the parent table, then it's going to run into problem and say, hey, look, there's no associated primary key, so don't use it. So one of the benefit of using uh, uh, a foreign key column is that it actually helps you maintain that reference link between two tables. So it all it's it and then in other words, it assigns a constraint on the foreign key on both of the tables, especially on the child table, so that it can prevent any action that can destroy the link. So, for example, if you're supposed to only have um, a country ID of 1001 to one, let's say to 1200 something, and if you say if let's say if you put a for the foreign key, if you put a number that's not listed here on the parent table, then it's going to run error say this number does not exist, so we cannot use it as a reference foreign number. And let me exemplify it. Let me demonstrate this through this example. But first, let me go ahead and delete these tables I created, the economic indicator table, as well as the test table. All right, so let me go ahead and create this table first. The table is now created, and let me go ahead and create this parent table. Put these values into this table. There you go. And now for the foreign key, let me go ahead and create the foreign key, right? But when I add the values, let me put a value that's not in here in any of these values. So let me say I'm gonna put 2005, right? And I'm going to run this now, and you're going to see, right? You're going to see that it says 2005 is not present in test table one. Test table one is the parent table, by the way. So it's saying it's not. It's saying it does not exist in that table. So insert and updating on the table econ indicator violates foreign key constraint economic indicator ID foreign key. So it's saying that by adding the 2005 ID here as one of the IDs in the foreign one of the foreign key IDs for this child table, you're actually violating the constraint that we have in place, which is what? Which is that this column here as a foreign key column should only include, right? Should only include those IDs that are already listed on the parent table. So again, it's in a way applying a constraint to prevent any action that can affect that relationship between these tables. So that was example to show you that that's it's good because it's keeping it prevents you from having any foreign key that's outside the listed primary keys. And let me go ahead and refresh this, and you're going to see both of these tables populated here. If you go to the test table one, which is our parent table, and you go there and you look at the constraint, you're going to see that we have the ID as the primary key constraint here. You can also see it here. There's a primary key ID. And if you go to the table, as you go to economic indicator table, which is the second table or the child table, you're going to see that the constraint is not a primary key, it's blank, as you can see, but it's a foreign key actually. So the foreign key is now added here. And you can also see it on the list of the columns that ID is a foreign key, but it's not listed here because we only project the primary keys here. But on the constraint tab, you can see that it's listed as a constraint, as a foreign key constraint, and the name of the column is ID. And it's also telling you that the reference table is test table one, which is the parent table we talked about. So it's not only showing you what column it is, it's also telling you what's the reference table. So we can only add, as for the foreign key column, for this column, right, oh, it looks like I did not add the values yet. So maybe I should change this back to 1004. Now this is going to take it because it's does not violate it. Okay, there you go. And let me run it again. You're going to see them. So this foreign key column again, it can only and only include those values, those IDs that are already present in the primary key column on the parent table, which is this table this table right here. It's this table right here, this ID. If it does not exist here on the primary key column of the parent table, then we are violating the foreign key protocol, and we will run into error.